Hey guys, it's Pastor Bruce. Today we begin Paul's letter to the Colossians. Colossae was due east of the city of Ephesus in what is modern-day central Turkey. Paul wrote this letter from Rome during his first 2-year house arrest there, the same time when he wrote his letters to the Ephesians and the Philippians and to Philemon, though it's believed that probably Colossians was his earliest letter from there. Paul didn't know the Colossian people. He had heard about their struggles from Epaphras, who probably was their pastor. In this letter, he's responding in large part to what's known as the Colossian heresy. This is a mashup of paganism and Jewish legalism with a little bit of Christianity thrown in just for good measure. There were elements of mysticism and secrecy. There were appeals to supernatural forces. Jesus had a place in all of this. He just wasn't supreme. They also had dietary rules, and there were requirements for keeping circumcision and the observance of holy days. Well, Paul jumps right in chapter 1. First, he affirms that God doesn't have and God doesn't want some hidden knowledge. In verse 9, he writes that in praying for them, they would be filled with the knowledge of His will and all wisdom and spiritual understanding. And in verse 10, that they would be increasing in the knowledge of God. Paul wants to realign the Colossians' priorities with Jesus as the one and only focus of power and worship for them. He explains that God had revealed the mystery from the ages past to His saints. And in verse 27, he writes, "To them, God willed to make known what are the riches of the glory of this mystery among the Gentiles, which is Christ in you, the hope of glory." Again and again in this first chapter, he demonstrates that Jesus is God. Jesus was there at creation, and now Jesus is the head of the church. In verse 15, He is the image of the invisible God, the firstborn over all creation. Verse 16, "For by Him all things are created that are in heaven and that are on earth." Verse 17, "And He is before all things, and in Him all things consist." Verse 18, "That in all things He may have the preeminence." The Colossians had a very cobbled together faith that was attacking them. This is a good book to share with those in our own day who have a hodgepodge faith. And believe me, there are a lot of them out there. This is a book that you can share with them to show that God's not hiding anything from them. Indeed, He wants all of us to understand that salvation is through Christ Jesus and Him alone. God bless you as you go.